Sorry if the load's a little loud. I'm just trying to get to the spot that I usually go to. But today is gonna be the impressions of a cam, what to expect if you guys want to get a cam installed, and you know, all that information. So all my mods are going to be listed down below in the description, so I'm not going to cover everything in detail right now. So if you want to see what I have, check it out. So overall, first off, I do have a check engine light, but it has to do with an O2 sensor parameter, and my tuner, I already mentioned to my tuner because I scanned the code and he told me it's not a big deal. I just have to go back to him to get him to readjust it slightly, and it should be good. So let's get that out the way. First things first is, obviously, if you guys have a Camaro, or if you're looking at buying a Camaro or a Mustang or whatever, you know, V8 cars typically don't get the greatest gas mileage, you know. You should be kind of expecting that getting into buying one. Now, if you cam, especially, you know, like a single cam based car like a Camaro and stuff, the gas mileage does get worse. So, you know, a lot of people, they want to have cars like this, but they want to be able to get, you know, freaking 25 or 30 miles per gallon like average or something like that. That's not the case. So I do a lot of city driving. So my cammed stage 3 cam Camaro, I get like 11 miles to the gallon, 11 to like 11.5. But like I said, I do a ridiculous amount of city driving, like really low speeds. So, you know, keep that in mind. Now on the highway, my car gets about 21 and some change. It actually went down just a hair, not anything too crazy, but it did go down. So, but yeah, keep that in mind. I get a lot of people who, you know, they get concerned about MPG. Like, honestly, if you're doing these kind of mods, you shouldn't be worried about MPG anyway. And my car is tuned for 93 octane. It's not E85 car or anything like that. So yeah, on 93 I average about 11 and some change. I do mostly city. The same type of driving that I do now that I used to do before the cam, I was getting like 14 to 15. So that shows you right there, I lost about 3 to 4 MPG, and I do the same exact driving style and everything like that. So obviously inside the car, as you can hear right now, we're in 6th gear. We're going about 68, 70 miles an hour. It actually is not, that's what surprised me. There's no crazy amount of drone, and it's not like excessively loud. Even at idle, I mean, you can hear the cam, but it sounds 10 times louder outside than it does actually inside the car. Like, the noise doesn't actually transition into the car as much as other cars I've been in. So that's always that's a good plus. Obviously she's fun to drive. She makes around 500 wheel horsepower. Like right now you can see I'm averaging 18.5, but that's because I did some a really long highway trip, and you know, and then but it was at like 22, and now it's down to 18 after like not even a day. It drops quite a bit because, like I said, I did a long highway trip, and then now I've been doing a lot of my city driving that I usually do. So but yeah, I mean, she screams to like 7,200 RPM now. Another thing to consider if you're thinking about camming your Camaro is very slow speeds, like, or really low RPM. Not necessarily the speed, but more the RPM. The car likes to buck a little bit. So, you know, if you're used to shifting, you know, your car at really low RPM, and you're cruising, you know, in town, and you're doing like 1,000 RPM or barely over 1,000, and you're just trying to kind of barely help it go, that you can't really do that anymore. I noticed anything under 1,500 RPMs on this car, and it likes to buck, even if you hold the gas pedal like just roll steady and everything. It has just like a weird bucking sensation. So keep that in mind. So as you can see, I mean, she's pretty rowdy now. Roll the windows down for you so you guys can hear the exhaust a little bit better. So you can hear the cam a little bit right there. A little bit of a burnout there, side slide. But yeah, like right now shifting normal, it's fine. See, that's 5th gear, about 1800 RPMs. You barely hear anything. So there's a guy in front of me, so I don't want to go too crazy on trying to speed through here. But yeah, I mean, it's a lot of fun. I just want people to understand what they're getting themselves into. Now, another thing to keep in mind, and that's a very common issue when you do a cam especially in an LS3 based car, is the oil pump. Now, I left my stock oil pump because I talked to a few different tuners, a few different builders, and I have a 2015, I have a late model LS3, and from what they claimed, right, so I mean, don't, you know, I'm sure I'm gonna get some guy that has a comment that says it's not true, but whatever. From what they claimed, the newer LS3s, like in the 14, 15s and 16s or whatever, I don't know if GM did a change on the pump or whatever, but the oil pump tends to be a lot better. So a lot of guys will replace the oil pump because they say that after you do a cam, it tends to go out, like, you know, the oil pump goes bad and then you have no oil pressure. So I keep an eye, you know, obviously mine has the oil pressure down here. I always keep an eye on the oil pressure just to make sure the needle's where it should be on startup and stuff, and I glance down there every now and then. But that's something to expect. So if you guys are looking at doing a cam and kind of keeping it long term, you might need to look into investing in an oil pump, which is something I didn't do. But that's a common issue with these cars, I guess, you know, with just LS3s in general after doing a cam swap. Yeah, everything else, you know, the car's been running great, you know. She gets up and move. I haven't taken it to the track, so I really don't know exactly what she would run in a quarter. I did lose a little bit of power though, because I didn't get an intake for the car. I came from European vehicles and other cars where an intake, you might get 5 to 10 horsepower gain after you get a dyno tune. On this car, since I did get the heads ported and polished, I would have gotten like an extra 15 to 20 horsepower. So that was like a mistake on my part, and I would obviously have to get it retuned and stuff. So I just kind of like whatever, you know, at this point, because I was thinking about doing an LSA in the future, LSA supercharger swap. So obviously I would have had to get another intake then. So that's why I was like, maybe I'll just wait. I mean, like I said, she made right around she made 492 to the wheels. So close to 500 horsepower is still fun. I mean, obviously 510, 515 would have been nice to make to the wheels, but like I said, it was just a mistake on my part. So while I have you guys here, we're gonna go ahead and talk about cost, because that's always another big question. Parts alone, if you want to do like a cam kit or whatever, I want to say they're right around $1,200 to $1,500 depending on what cam you go with and all that stuff. So as I was saying, there's a few different companies that you can go with. You can probably hear the bucking right there, just because I dropped below 1,500 or whatever. But yeah, like I was saying, there's a few different companies you can go through. It's gonna cost you around $1,000 to like $1,400 for all the stuff you need, minus the heads. Like I got the heads done, so ported and polished. Now mine was about $2,800, give or take, $2,700, and I did all the work myself. So obviously that's gonna be a big thing for a lot of people. I want to say like parts and labor and everything, the average is somewhere between $4,000 and $6,000. If I remember correctly. Now, you might be able to get something a little bit cheaper. I think I've seen some guys say that they're able to get it for like, you know, $3,500, $3,000, something like that. But realistically, if you buy all the stuff through a shop and they do all the labor charge and stuff, it's gonna cost you somewhere between $3,500 and you know, up to like $5,500. So it's not a cheap thing to do yourself or to pay somebody else. But I'm gonna go outside so you guys can hear the difference. So if you listen here, this is the idle. But if I open the door, it gets a decent amount louder, you know. So obviously my car is pretty dirty right now. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of what to expect when you buy a car and plan to cam it and stuff. Other than that, my car's been running great. I haven't put like that many miles, but See if we can get a little launch here going. A little burnout there. Now on the way back here, I'm gonna try to get on it a little bit so you guys can listen. The car does backfire a decent amount, which is pretty nice. So always like a good backfire. Sounds good. Now the reason my brakes are squeaking so bad is because I got performance ceramic pads. So you know, that ends up being a problem when you get the performance ones. And there goes a little pull. So I mean, the car is like, it just kind of wakes the car up, you know. Like before, you know, in my opinion, the Camaros felt slightly underpowered. So I feel like, you know, I don't know, that was just my opinion.